this is. Let's do a quick summary of his career so far. Worldwide sales of close to between 150 million to 200 million copies in albums and singles, right?
That's quite
in the US as a solo artist, he's done 20 million copies, as with Prince and the Revolution, 16 million.
Sure. Affinity Extra, be extra.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Extra.
Yo, people, we're back again. I told you, I warned you, I said season 2 is back and we're going to be knocking it back almost every week. We can see if we can keep this going. And now we're going to hit off alongside, not even alongside, I'm here serving Kevin Tomlin here, black music historian. Yes, we have a person who loves God but also knows about black music. Is that possible? You're not allowed to know about anything outside of Fred Hammond, Kirk and whatsoever. But if you didn't realize the power of what we are doing as black people and made a difference in the music and entertainment business, you wouldn't be going yes master every 2 seconds when we don't get no record deals here in the CCM scene anyway. So you'd be like, hold on a second, how you say no to us when we run the music scene? But anyway, and how do you say no to us when CCM is basically glorified soft rock? Where did you get rock from? Rock came from the black man who actually turned it around into a multi-billion dollar industry. That's what the Batman did. Yeah. So if you check out the facts, do check out our other videos. We've done over 20 videos looking back into, so we'll be hitting them off anyway. So yeah. So as we hinted last week, we mentioned about we done a muscle show. That was amazing. I learned about staple singers and that's all in my head right now, so I'm so excited about that track there. And we mentioned a bit of James Brown, and we're gonna hit James Brown, but I know Kevin wants to do a special research on that one because he's one of the most sampled artists ever. You know what I mean? When you hear them breaks, you get me, Kevin. You know them Kevin's there, them way, like dun, 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 them intros that it starts. Yes. You hear the intro, you go, hold on, that's Wu-Tang. Hold on, what's that? Hold on, this is listen. Anyone who use a James Brown track, I don't know where they've been anyway. So yeah, but listen, we got that. So we're gonna pick out a specific artist. I mashed up the thing anyway. But I watched a video, and I don't know if Kevin saw it. I sent it to him. There's a video that came out the other day, about a month ago, on YouTube, where they saw this little child turns around and he shouts out, says, yeah, and he said something, yeah. Later on, the researcher realized it was Prince at the age of 10 or 9. I don't know, did you watch the video I sent you, Kev?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch it.
So I sent it over to Kevin. Really interesting video. It was really intriguing, and then he spoke to one of the guys that grew up with him, and he goes, yeah man, he was talented from the, we was in a little band and we did this, and his talent started from a very young age, and it was just really interesting seeing a little black boy there, just there, little red skin boy, just there in the camera as a little youth, and he goes through. And now looking at Prince, I remember my first sight of him is this kind of like very he had like a quiffy kind of straight perm kind of wave thing. I'm like, what man has a hairstyle like that? Like, I ain't listening to this must be some evil music here. And then I went into a shop, and the shop guy, Asian guy, was like, yo, I live for Prince, I live for Prince. I was like, you're into Prince? Like, that guy that looks kind of weird, what am I missing out on? And now listen guys, this Prince guy is a amazing guy and an amazing musician, amazing talent, not just a singer, he's an amazingly talented musician and writer and everything out there, amazing. But I don't really know that much, so we're here alongside, and this is all my journey of learning alongside yourself. We're gonna learn all about Prince, and it's gonna be in 2 parts, guys. So we're gonna knock out this first 30-minute ish part first, and then we're gonna hit the second part out, where we're gonna probably clean up and fill in the gaps and so on, like that story anyway. So So Kevin Tomlin, tell me about it. How are you? And here we are ready for Prince. Start it off, bro. Start it off, man. Start off with the young man from he called himself Prince, you know, before the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, he was the Prince.
Yes.
The audacity.
Well, actually, this is interesting. I was told by my friend, a very amazing lady you must record, by the name of Charming Elliott. She said that Prince is originally from 7 Days Adventist.
Ooh, that wouldn't surprise me.
And also, she said, with the 7 Day Adventists, part of their motto or part of their indoctrination was that everything you do, you must study to show yourself approved.
Wow.
That is their standard procedure. That's why most of the practitioners, as doctors, lawyers, etc., they perform extraordinary service.
And they're and a lot of time they're classically trained as well.
Yeah, they're classically trained.
Yep.
Prince had classically trained experience. He went to Oakwood University, he attended Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. That is the 7 Day Adventist University, you know.
Okay, was it Oakfield?
Yes, Huntsville. Huntsville, yes. Make sure I get the address correct.
So, guys, I'm doing research.
Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, HUNTSVILLE.
Oh, Huntsville. Okay.
Huntsville
College.
Alabama.
Okay.
Oakwood
University,
which is part of the top institution.
Ooh, yeah, I see there. Yep.
Yes, it's a very prestigious institution, which has produced quite a few outstanding creative entities in music. She mentioned a few names, and Prince attended there. Whether he finished the course, I don't know.
Because I'm just looking at it now, and you're totally right, but I'm not saying you was wrong, but it was basically historically Black Seventh-day Adventist University in Huntsville, Alabama. It is owned by HBCO. I'm going to look into that, and it's operated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Big up. Correct. Big up. This is where we need to be in the field of education. We need to be in it, and we need to talk. And this is how we push our youths through. Come on, man.
Yes. Now, Prince got his first, should I say, success. Of course, Prince's father was involved in music. He was.
So, what's Prince's real name?
Nelson. That's his surname, Nelson.
Okay.
Okay. Nelson. Now, this is. Let's do a quick summary of his career so far. Worldwide sales of close to between 150 million to 200 million copies in albums and singles, right?
That's quite
in the US as a solo artist, he's done 20 million copies. As with Prince and the Revolution, 16 million. The group that supported him in the different phases. The last phase of one of the last groups that had big hits with him was Prince and the New Generation, where they did the famous one of his major albums, Diamond and Pearls. Diamond and Pearls. Remember that? Yeah.
What style would you say that Prince is? Because he seems very he's not poppy. He's kind of weird. He's kind of like not.
He's in everything. Actually, Prince is capable of conducting an entire orchestra if he wants to.
Okay.
He's a multi-instrumentalist.
Not bad.
He can sing as well. The sort of Tom Bell and so forth. You know, that sort of creative wizard. You know, that can do everything, and he plays the keyboard. Quite capable keyboardist, quite capable drummer, quite capable rhythm guitarist, quite capable bass player, and the list goes on. Okay, now Prince is regarded as part of the top 200 American artists. He's part of the top 200 list.
Okay, cool.
He's sold with all his groups and everything put together, probably close to about 40 million copies in the US in albums. We're not mentioning about singles. His soundtrack album, The Purple Rain soundtrack, has sold more than 20 million copies to date, according to Billboard. 20 million copies per day.
Jeez.
To date. A Purple Rain, they call it, the Purple Rain is regarded as maybe as the rock opera style, rock opera sort of thing.
Yeah, because that's what I felt like. He was more like a rocky type.
Rock opera, yes. Because but don't let that fool you, because Prince can do a very heavy R&B if he wants to.
Okay. See, I think that period there, because I'm looking at it, it's 1984. So Purple Rain was, so that was is that right? No, that's
approximately around about that time. Yes.
So 1 second, it says here, but there's a movie at the same time. Was a movie at the same time?
Yes, it's a movie. The movie at the same time, which on its open week, and its open weeks did $7.7 million in gross earning on its opening week.
So
yeah, and it was a chart-topping movie, and also Academy Award winning movie for Prince as a songwriter, and it put Minneapolis on the map as a epic center for innovative music. That was the album prior to Janet Jackson exploding, when she went to Minneapolis and did with Jimmy Jam and Terror Days. That was the album that really sort of put Prince at the center. This is an interesting thing.
Go on, yeah.
That the Prince sound engineers were white female women mainly.
Yeah, is that guy?
Susan Rogers and Peggy McCary. McCary's McCreary. McCary. Peggy. These two women were Prince's key sound engineers. Actually, Prince's first successful platinum album was 1979. That's when he really started to explode. And he did the #1 single, I Want to Be Your Lover, which was #1 for 2 weeks. It was a funky disco track, sort of funky, but a different kind of funk. It was #1 on the 1st of December, 1979 for 2 weeks. Yes.
You know what I like?
And by the way, most of the instruments were played by Prince on that album. And it was produced by him. And most of the tracks were written by Prince writes all these things, really. So
he's taking it all up. But what's amazing me, bro? Yeah, it's like every week. What's part of culture in the US black music market is that we've been part of the film industry from the 60s and 70s. You know what I mean? We've featured, if not been doing the whole, and I think that's a massive income stream. We're not part of it in this country, if you know what I'm saying. In the UK, the way that I see that, okay, right, there's a movie there. He actually featured in Purple Rain himself. So all these things, like, oh no, a second, they actually built around as well, and is a key part of their development and their movement forward was to be in the movie market.
Well, when it comes to the black experience in America, it was a question of getting involved, breaking down the doors and getting involved, regardless of whatever it takes. I mean, remember, you had movie soundtracks as far back, block motion music soundtracks that won Oscar as far back as Shaft with Isaac Hayes, right? Let's going back.
Yeah, man.
And then Isaac you have Hayes. Superfly with Curtis Mayfield. And these two albums I mentioned, they were #1 albums on the Hot 200.
Okay.
Monster hitting albums. So these brothers were doing the prelude already, preparing for the Prince to come, you see.
Wow.
And the Michael Jackson to come. You know, there were other people who were setting the pace. You know, Michael Jackson, if we talk about Michael Jackson compared to Prince, it was a very keen activity for Michael Jackson to go and watch James Brown and Teddy Pendergrass and all of them perform to get ideas.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's the same thing with Prince. Prince is always soaking in and listening, you know. He's always listening to all the major musical geniuses in the different disciplines or the different sounds, you know. Elvis Presley, rock, you know, Little Richard, rock and roll, and so forth. Fats Domino, and Prince is listening to all these people and soaking in, and James Brown soaking in and developing his eclectic music, his concept, his own style, his own creative vibes. Yes.
Do you think he came across as a guy that kind of purposely didn't want to be like straight normal? He wanted to be X. He didn't really want to follow it. You know, like when you had music in the time when I was listening to, when Boyz II Men came out, you had somebody else trying to be a Boyz II Men. It's like, I felt like Prince never tried to be anybody. He just...
No. Okay, let me explain something to you.
Go.
Prince is a multifaceted creative genius and creative power broker. Multifaceted. He goes on every line. Everything he touched was extraordinary. Soundtracks, right? I mean, Quincy Jones. I don't forget about Quincy Jones, but I'm talking about Prince. Some of Prince tours that he did, live tours, did sometime nearly 100 million in gross earning, on a more than one occasion. That is in the United States alone. We're not talking about worldwide earning.
Jeez.
At one time, he was on some occasions he was the biggest selling, gross earning live performer on many occasions.
I didn't think he was that popular, to be honest.
well, the thing about Prince, a lot of white women love Prince because a lot of his female performers were white.
Okay, yeah.
Guitarist and bass player.
Yes,
you know? They adored him too, you know, and he had a very, Sheila He was produced 2 gold albums with her. He did a platinum project with Madonna, 1 track for her. He had a group called Vanity 6, which he did a big project with. So yeah, he had a way of love to work with women. You see, there's that woman experience. Yes.
Yeah. No.
So Prince and he always seemed to have a great affiliation for females. I mean, the track "Do Me Baby" by Vanessa Morgan, which was a Prince written track, right? So several of Prince tracks were actually used by female artists, and they were blockbusters.
Okay. Yeah, some people got that connection. Yeah, got you.
And okay, remember his 6 studio albums from the 1980s, alone, with 3 which the Revolution Band worked with.
Okay,
soundtrack. I mean, there were 2 platinum certification. So he had a lot of platinum. By the time the 80s finished, Prince probably might have generated about 10 million or maybe more. And more than that, actually. More than that, because the first time around, Purple Rain, the first time around, did about 13 million. The first strike, boom.
Yeah.
13 million copies.
Wow.
At one time, it was one of the biggest selling soundtracks of the 80s.
Yeah, I remember hearing Purple Rain a lot back in the day. Yeah, I remember hearing about that a lot. But it's just, again, it just came across as that weird kind of thing. I was like, oh man, I ain't listening to that. But to see, but I know he had a massive impact, bro, on the numbers that you're saying. Absolutely kind of ridiculous. Now you mentioned that he's from a certain area that we've covered in the past, and the people that's after him, the people that came before him. Again, like you went through Muscle Show the other day, it seems like each city, like each state has its turn.
Yeah, because Minneapolis was probably, you could say, the last of the cities, in particular, to have a sound.
Okay, yes.
Signature sound of its own, because remember, that's where Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis did their stuff with Janet Jackson, right?
Okay.
and also from that same city, you had Sound of Blackness coming out, yes.
Yeah.
And Johnny Gill with his stuff, what he did with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and also Boyz II Men. Yes, they did hit tracks with them, and the list goes. And Karen White, for instance, with the album Romantic and so forth. So these are all, and Patti LaBelle did a few gold albums where the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis was involved, where she did some tracks that came out of Minneapolis, city of Minneapolis. And another thing too is that if you look at Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Prince, the amount of albums, hit run albums, they run in the 50 to 60 million, sometime between the both of them in a given year. They'd be doing millions and millions and millions of units in singles and albums. It's just incredible.
That's mad. Absolutely crazy.
Incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, when you think about the Purple Rain soundtrack, he had a Golden Globe Award for Song of the Year.
And the thing is, this is the time where, like I said, Prince was kind of a bit different. But again, his quality, his sound, his talent, bro, this is what I'm talking about. And I looked back into that college, bro. And that college is part of a network of basically black colleges, throughout America. And I'm not saying it's about us having black colleges here in the UK, but it shows you the importance of developing the next generation of educated people in the American space, no matter what oppression they're feeling, and I know it was like in the 80s and 90s. Prince came through in the 80s. What year would you say he's? You talked about Purple Rain in '84. When did he really? What age? How? When did he announce himself, bro?
Well, he sort of announced himself from the self-titled album in '79, Prince.
Right.
That self-titled album, which is his follow-up, because he did an album before that, but it didn't go anywhere. But the second album really established him.
Okay, cool. And that's 79.
I want to be your lover, and that was one of the last number one tracks before the 80s came in. So Prince was one of the last artists as such to have a R&B hit before the 70s close.
Okay.
2 weeks before, in December 79. Because if you look at 79, I think the following week after that, I think Michael Jackson, I can't remember who it was, but in 79, another artist, black, let me tell you
Jackson.
now, give you an idea. Right around that time, when Prince did his track that week, the following week, Rufus and Shaka Khan did their one. Do you love what you feel? A Quincy Jones production. So right around that time, both Prince and Quincy Jones are announcing what's going to happen during the 80s, as they close off the 70s. As they close off the 70s, these two brothers announcing what's going to happen.
The vibe. Yeah, because he was kind of in that period where they kind of was infusing electronics into into live instrumentation. So so that's what the 80s was really
synthesizers. Synthesizer, but Prince took synthesized music to another level. He took it to another level, because when you see Prince was Purple Rain was the first soundtrack album as such to not have string arrangement in it, just pure synthesizers work. You think about it.
It's like
it set a different the album became a benchmark when it comes to synthesizer produced at an extraordinarily high quality. If you think about it, it's like a rock opera.
Yeah. I think that 100%. I think that for me, guys, it's someone that again, you're thinking, okay, guys, why are you looking into Prince? I'm just looking at a guy who against the odds, you can almost and like I said, spent time to be excellent in his craft, and I would think,
he's excellent in his craft. That is right. And the thing about it is that with Prince parents separated, and I think divorced prior to him become famous.
Crazy. And just to hold his head up and to do that, that's crazy.
It's Prince is a creative genius. This is what Time magazine regard him. Inside the mind of a musical genius. Inside the mind, as they analyze this man, as they analyze him, we're trying to analyze it in a quick summary who this person was. Prince was definitely anointed, because for him he had to have a spiritual connection because of where he came from. Yes, from the church.
Yeah. Do you
Prince is from the church.
Do you think that would you say he's in the top 10 male artists, black artists in America? Would you say he's in the top 10?
Yes. He's probably in the top 5 because he was.
Because you got Jackson, you got Michael Jackson.
You got Michael. You got Michael. You got
James.
And you got Mariah Carey.
No, take the women out. Men. I'm talking about men only.
Oh, okay. We're talking about man. When you look at Prince compared to James Brown, he literally outsold James Brown.
Yeah.
What? James Brown's sales doesn't come close to Prince. No.
What? Yo, and I prefer. That don't make sense.
Well, you see, James Brown. Remember with James, this is another strange thing with James Brown compared to Prince. That's to show you the struggle that James Brown goes through. Do you know that James Brown has never had, although he is the godfather of soul, he's never had a pop number 1?
That don't make sense.
I know it doesn't make sense.
Do you think he was just a bit too early?
It could be a bit too early, or it could be the politics behind the charting. Oh,
okay, is the politics behind the charting? You know what I'm saying?
And it could be a lot of different things. It could be a lot different.
Because I know he came through. He was if let me just check in James Brown, because I think some of these key things, it depends which side of the you know, like the black struggle. It depends what side of that struggle for me you came out at. You know what I mean? If you came
because
through
with James Brown, I think the interesting thing about James Brown is his actual influence that make him big, because he did influence Prince, right? He did influence Michael Jackson. He did influence many other up and coming male artists. Teddy Pendergast said he was influenced by him as well. A lot of people were influenced by James Brown, but in terms of certification, a lot of them outsold him. But we got to remember as well during that period as well that a lot of the labels that these brothers were contracted to didn't always certify the albums that they did, you know, gold or platinum. So you don't always know how much they got. Yes. Okay. And the same thing to do with Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia Jackson has no certification as such, but she's a phenomenal influence. You get me? Same thing with Andrew Crouch. Same thing with Andrew Crouch. I don't see no certification of Andrew Crouch, but yet is influential in terms.
Everybody says Andrew Crouch. That's all you hear. Okay, I get you. So James Brown could be.
Yes, it depends on who is doing the data and who is controlling what. Yes,
but you could say that James Brown had a bigger influence by the tracks that have been inspired by his music and Prince.
Yes, of course, because remember the movement on the stage. If you watch Prince, he does a lot of James Brown's movements, you know, swinging. Michael Jackson, the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with Usher and all of them. Prince, James Brown in particular, was the template. To build it, the foundation. You see, this is the difference with America compared to here. These brothers had artists like Little Richard and so on that they had templates who they can build upon.
Yeah.
You know, like the Jackie Wilson. I mean, Jackie Wilson, the way he danced. Eddie Prendergast saw him dancing. A lot of people, and then they emulate from it. And when you see Jackie Wilson dance. Electrifying. These
standing on shoulders, and I think that's legacy, bro. That's legacy right there. Even though James Brown might not have got so far, but they're breaking through barriers that allow for the
breaking new ground. Because James Brown had radio station. They had this, they had that, they had artist management, they had this. They were breaking new ground. They might not be able to hold it, but they were breaking new ground and telling the youngsters that they can do this.
Yeah.
Okay, you think about Prince.
Yeah, inspirational.
Before we end this. Prince had Paisley Park record label. He had another record label called NPG. New Power Generation Group.
Okay, is that what Prince is going on with?
New Power Generation was part of his label. Diamonds and Pearl came out of.
Okay, cool.
And Paisley Park with the other soundtracks.
Yeah.
And also, it wasn't until his platinum album Parade that he started to use strings and horns.
Okay.
Yeah, he started using it. And the person who he actually recruited and hired to do that was a white man by the name of Claire Fisher. You know, from the West Coast, a serious brother who Quincy had a great
man. Yeah.
Yes, these brothers, you got some serious, what they call string tacticians, the Rangers, a master. Claire Fisher was a master jazz master.
Brilliant.
Classical. So when you listen to the soundtrack, the double platinum soundtrack of Batman by Prince, you can hear the strings.
That's mad. That is absolutely crazy. I think that's something crazy. And I think, guys, you know, this is great, bro, because we just need to know that, like I said, bro, I didn't really see much about Prince. I didn't really think much about Prince, but the input that you put into the to music, into culture, into understanding that, what, bro, he stood in giants, but he also took it in the level that, that the artists after him, we could even, because he kind of transcended, he was more popular by his visuality, by the way he was and whatsoever. So I saw more Prince in the suburban areas. I'd see about the artists that will be dancing about a bit at the time we were big time. So people would be dancing to R. Kelly in the ghetto, going, "Yo, man, this is hardcore." But when I was going home into the suburbs, I was like, "Hold on a second, they talk about Prince, they talk about Michael Jackson, but they ain't talking about no R. Kelly." You know what I mean? So it's like
R. Kelly was the hardcore of the black generation, youngster coming up, like the Mary J. Blige and so on. Yeah. He was there, pump and grind, the hardcore stuff, and the way and deal with women, which we don't praise, but
listen, bro, that's
another issue there.
That's he got caught, and hopefully he's getting locked down and dealt with at 100% anyway. Still, for his alleged crimes, man, 100%. The courts have dealt with him that way.
He's very naughty.
And I think that, to be honest, but the industry, is full of people that have misbehaved, and I hope that they'll meet judgment on earth, and if not, they'll face judgment after life if not sorted out with God.
They would. It's a matter of time that the situation would catch up with them. They've done a lot of damage. They've done a lot of damage, and.
So it's sad, but this is where we are, and this is why we will encourage everyone to be the fulfill the talent in Christ, man. You know what I'm saying, bro, and do what you gotta do. You know what I'm saying, and make sure it's pure in Christ as well. So but definitely, like I said, Prince is talented. A bit weird for me, but talented dude. You know what I'm saying, out there still. I'm gonna definitely have a little to listen to a couple of tracks to get a vibe what exactly it's coming from.
Yes, you need to actually.
Probably not half of them already.
But you need to listen to sort of. I had to get back into some of this stuff, and this is also interesting that I think it's Sunrise Recording Studio on the West Coast. Prince was one of their main clients at one point.
Okay.
And Prince was so big that sometimes he would hire out the studio for weeks and just control it.
Yeah, man.
And because of the weather, and then eventually Prince developed his own recording studio called Paisley Park, which was almost like a museum.
Wow.
And then he had his own recording engineers and so forth.
Wow.
But, and many times with his albums, some of it was done in Minneapolis and some of it was done on the West Coast. So it's a bit of both. And of course, from Parade onwards, many of his albums, he started to use strings and horns. He's gone through the whole evolution. And as I could say, from my reading, Prince is comfortable to conduct and symphony orchestra without no sweat. He was at that level to actually do that.
Jeez.
So musically speaking, his musical intelligence was extraordinary.
Oh,
he was off the Richter scale, in terms of musical impact and creativity. Everybody who had encountered with him said that Prince could play the instrument sometimes better than the people who were supporting him as recording. That's how extraordinary it was.
Absolutely crazy.
So that means he created such a benchmark.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely mad. And you know what's as well, it's something I was going to emphasize to people, something that I'm learning is when you see obviously as Kevin's talking, I'm going into Google and checking out different spots in importance, but it's funny how the black people that were in these northern states, Minneapolis and so on, that still, actually majority of black people just after the Civil War was in the South, and 90% of them were. So this is part of a population that has only been in that area for maybe 1 or 2 generations, if we're lucky. It came up in the 1920s or 1940s, movement, migration into the northern states.
As those areas became industrialized. That's it. Shipbuilding, and
car making, car manufacturers, and all that came through, and they needed workers. You can get 5 times more than being a farmer up there, even though it's still tough, So these guys are the children of the parents that went up there and worked 24/7. So this is he's almost the fruit of the labor of the parents that moved out of the hardcore racist southern south states that were running hardcore Jim Crow. Even though things are hard up there, he made the move. So that's really amazing, man. Really, really amazing. You know what I'm saying, and whatsoever. So Kevin, what we want to do is we want to clear up some stuff. We're going to look at his full discography next week. With the next episode still, and appreciate
just talk about some of the musicians and so on behind him.
That's all good. We'll bring that into it anyway. So yeah. But thanks for giving us a first part of the episode about the Prince, and we're going to try and relate this to music. Excuse, because there's lights in my eyes today, so that's why my eyes are squinty today. But I'm going to turn that down next time. But listen, this is Roger and Affinity Extra alongside Kevin Tomlin. Listen, nothing but love, guys, and thanks again for listening in, man. Blessings.
Fantastic. Take care.
Hey, this is your Bishop from Rock Solid. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for clicking and subscribing, and also sending these videos to other people as well. We are so hungry to get your support. So remember, check us out on our website, and also check us out on Insta, and wherever you want to find us on Spotify. You can play us all day as well. And just make sure that you are supporting this channel, that we are developing our agenda towards music of black origin, and that is gospel music with a message. So please walk with us on this journey. Bye now.